I said I've become obsessed with understanding what gets people stuck and helping them get unstuck. Your heart is the very secret to getting unstuck. What's so cool is the way that these trucks are designed. Like I said, they're meant for very high performance purposes, aren't they? I just believe that you and I are the same way. I just think that there's certain ways that if we're going to go out there and chase our dreams and like make life work, which is really difficult to do sometimes, if we're going to do that, we have to have a couple things in place, if you will, some things that we need to be committed to as we go along. Because just by show of hands, is there something about your future? Actually, you don't have to raise your hands for this. Is there something that intimidates you right now? Is there something about the next 2 to 4 years of your life that you're like, I don't really know how this is going to come together? I love the fact that you're in this room. I love the fact that Campbell University is making this kind of investment into you, whether you become a Campbell student or not. Because the abilities that this room has, I believe, has the opportunity to set some ripple effects across millions of people. Would you agree? I think that that's a pretty noble endeavor. And so I don't know where you're at tonight. I don't know if you're nervous. I don't know if you're like, Bryce, if we're sitting over coffee and you're like, Bryce, I'm kind of freaking out because I don't know how to make this next chapter work. Or maybe you would sit beside me and say, Bryce, I got this all figured out. Don't you worry. I know exactly how the next 5 years is going to go. And I hope that is you. But wherever you're at tonight, I want to give you my 4 shifts that I have personally made along the way, that when I feel like life is chaotic and out of control, I always go back to these 4 shifts, even today, to find that unexpected traction. Is that fair? Are you ready? All right. Well, I'm going to help you find your next gear. So G, our first letter, stands for grow. Grow. I'm a huge believer that our inputs determine our outputs. What we put in is what we get out. Now, I was in, again, Houston, Texas, different year, and I was competing in something called the skills competition. This is a very technical competition, and I was doing a nose wheelie and shifting through my gears, balancing a 12,000-pound truck, and everything was going really well, all of a sudden until it wasn't. That's terrible. Look, in Monster Jam, you're either a hero or a zero, all right? That was one of my zero moments. But does anyone just have a guess as to why that flop happened? Anybody want to? No one's ever gotten it right, by the way. I'm hoping you guys are smart. What's that? Weight distribution? Yeah, what else? It's a great guess. Part of it. Driving? Yeah, he suck as a driver. Yeah. I missed a gear. That's a great guess. What? What was that? How much? Too much gas. That was so close. I ran out of gas. Can you believe that? I've got a 1,500 horsepower machine, 12,000 pound truck that was made to do all this crazy stuff, and out of nowhere, I just ran out of fuel. Now, my question to you too, this is a very high performance machine. Do you think that we could have just filled it up with 87 grade octane that you would get at a gas station up the road? No. It does take very specific fuel that goes into my machine to get that 1,500 horsepower out. But it doesn't matter if you've got the right fuel if you don't have enough of it. I've become very aware, the longer I live, that the harder I run, the more fuel I've got to make sure is in my own tank. And if I'm empty, if I'm running empty, because this is what, we've gotten really good at mental health, right? At least we've started like paying attention to it. But here's my issue. We're really good at emptying our minds, aren't we? My question is, what are we filling it back with? Is it just social media? Right? Doesn't that get old? I know a lot of people that's their fuel. That's not good enough fuel. That's the 87 pump gas while you're trying to do monster truck things. You with me? So my question to you is, what are you filling up your tank with? if you're going to go and do high performance things, if you're going to continue to go out there and run at the level that not only you're capable of, but that you want to run at, I'm going to challenge you to keep your tank full. And so the tune-up, I got these little tune-ups, all right? It's so good. It's on brand, isn't it? I got these tune-ups. The tune-up I want you to wrestle with is that you cannot pour from an empty tank. You talk about burnout a lot. We all do. And guess what? I get burnt out sometimes. Sometimes I'm on the road for 5 days straight, and you know what I want to do because I'm empty? I've been giving to fans. I've been, crashing monster trucks all over. I just want to go home and wrestle my 7-year-old son to fill my tank back up. Reading. Look, I walked this campus, and I learned on this campus as a student here that you can hate reading, but you still have to do it. Right? I got tired of someone said, don't you hate reading? I said, yes, but I hated being an idiot more. I started pouring into books. I started understanding that those things were cutting me open to me, and they were allowing me to understand the type of fuel I needed. You're at such an advantage right now because you have everything. You got the world in the palm of your hand. You have podcasts that give you more information than you could ever need or consume. And so my challenge for you is exactly that. What is in your fuel tank? And I want you to wrestle with that tonight. Is that a deal? All right. All right, so what did G stand for? Grow. E. E is engage. Engage. I believe that safety nets have killed more dreams than a lack of talent ever will. I think you missed that. Safety nets, I've seen it. It's killed some of my own dreams. Safety nets have killed more dreams than a lack of talent ever has or ever will. All right, so what does that look like? I backflip my truck for a living as well, right? If I don't do a backflip like that, I usually lose the fans. But this is what it looks like from my vantage point. Yeah, not bad again, right? Here, I got to break that down though. Don't I? Okay. This is what's kind of cool. As soon as I'm trying to do a backflip, before I complete this backflip, and I turn this corner, I'm picking out a spot on that backflip container, which is about 15, 18 feet tall. I'm picking out a spot about the size of a quarter. I'm going to watch that focal point in all the way. As soon as my front tires touch that container, I'm going to give it 100% throttle to get it to kind of bounce off of that wall. Now, what did I explain earlier about looking for dirt? As soon as the dirt comes back into my field of view, I lift off of the gas and I hit the brake again, right? To stop the rotation of those giant tires. And that actually slows the rotation of the 12,000 pound truck so I can land it safely, but I want to keep that momentum because momentum is your friend, right? And so if you do all of that right, hit the brakes, thankfully you land it the right way. Can I show you though? I've shown you a lot of highlights. Can I show you the first ever backflip I did? Because it didn't quite go as planned. No, that's another zero moment. In case that's not a backflip, that's a backflop, right? It was really bad too. To compound it, did you see the pyrotechnics that they shot off? Like they were like, "This is gonna be such a great moment," and then I just do that number, and all the fans just are laughing at me, and it looked terrible. Can I tell you what happened? Because I went to a veteran driver before my first backflip. And I said, "Hey, Scott, I've never seen you crash on a backflip. How do you do one?" Because tonight I'm doing my first one. And yeah, everyone's like, "Where do you practice these moves in these trucks?" I practice them in front of 55,000 people. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But I said, "Scott, what do you do?" He said, "Bryce, look, turn that corner, pick a focal point. As soon as the front tires touch, give it 100% throttle, lift when you see dirt, and hit the brakes. And just hope you land it." But what was crazy, because I did not expect that whenever I hit that box, I just didn't think about how abrupt hitting a wall would be. No one told me that. It wasn't his fault. It's just something, I don't know if you ever felt this way. Sometimes it's what you don't know that costs you the most. You ever been there in life? This was one of my moments with that. I just didn't know. And so whenever I turned that corner and I picked my focal point, I brought my foot up towards the brake pedal to secure the truck and to steady the truck in my approach. The problem was I never dropped my foot back away from the brake. And so I approached it and my feet kind of looked like this. As soon as I hit that giant metal wall with the 12,000-pound truck and I went to hit the throttle, it also threw my foot forward just enough that I hit the brake pedal. And it killed all of my momentum and I did that awesome backflop, right? I learned a really valuable lesson. To me, I think this is a huge differentiator between people that make it in this world and don't. And this is our tune-up for engage. I learned that half commitments are actually more dangerous than full ones. People your age, I'm telling you, and not just you, but you're in such a pivotal moment of your life. And what goes on is the people that are trying to figure this stuff out, they usually have a plan B. The mistake I see most people make is they're just as committed, or in some cases, more committed to their plan B than they are their plan A. And then they wonder why things don't work out. They're trying to do really high performance specialized things, but their foot is up there near the brake pedal as well. And that's my challenge for you. As your head hits the pillow tonight, I want you to wrestle with that question. What is my plan B? If this whole thing doesn't work out, if health sciences, if none of this works out, what's my plan B? And my question to you is, how committed are you to that? Because I've only found one way to really excel in life, and that is to go all in. To make that decision, you draw that line, you step over it, and you say, I'm going all in on what I'm doing now, and I'm going to win. That is what engagement really looks like. All right, what was G? Grow. What was E? Engage. A is accelerate. Accelerate. What if you're doing the right things in life, but what if you're not doing enough of them? You ever thought about that? Yeah, I know you're busy, but you're doing some of the wrong things and you wonder why you're exhausted. What if you're actually doing the right things to make these decisions, to get to this next stage of your life, but maybe you just need to do more of the right things? See, a lot of us look in the mirrors and we feel like failures because things may not be working out in our lives. And it's because we're spread so thin on doing the things that we really shouldn't have done in the beginning. We need to do more of the right things. Okay? Everyone asks us, how do you jump these trucks? Each one of those tires that weighs 600 pounds, you see the silver tubes by each tire. There's 2 shocks for each tire, total of 8. And they open up about 30 inches each. The problem is sometimes these shocks have a mind of their own, and you can jump the truck all you want, but if the shocks just aren't cooperating with you, you end up on your roof. I was definitely seeing Tweety birds after this crash, by the way. I went through a stage of my monster truck career where I'm telling you, every time I jumped the truck big, this is what would happen. And I got exhausted from it. I felt like a professional crash test dummy, right? I came up to a big jump and I was about to give it all the throttle and I just knew, I was like, I'm probably going to crash. And I felt like I went through about 25 bad rebounds just like this. And I got to the point after about 6 years of being full-time in this sport, I hit this moment and you know what I started to say? Maybe this just isn't for me. Maybe I don't want to do this anymore. I didn't feel like getting my brain beat in every time I jumped the truck. I got really frustrated. And Monster Jam, they were coming to me and saying, look, we'll change it. You tell us what you're feeling, what you're experiencing. I didn't know what to tell them. I didn't know because, I said this earlier, right? Sometimes it's what you don't know that costs you the most, right? This was the same problem I was having. But it taught me because every time you set out to accomplish something, I was in something called a dip. And when you set out to achieve the things that you want in life, you're going to experience a dip. And I want you to learn how to accelerate through the dip. All right? What does that look like? Okay, you kick off this new idea. You say, I'm gonna go into the health sciences field. And you experience something called uninformed optimism. You know what that is? I don't know what I don't know, but I'm excited, right? And you get into that project, or maybe you start chasing that dream, and pretty soon pessimism sets in. Have you ever been there? You start getting your teeth kicked in just a little bit, and you're like, man, this is not nearly as fun as I expected that it was gonna be. And you hit this pessimism section, and you go into this dip, and can I tell you that that is where most dreams and goals and ambitions go to die, is right there. Here's what I learned. The faster I can get through the dip, on the other side is informed optimism. Informed optimism. Now I know what I didn't know before, and I'm excited again, right? I learned that if I've got to go through a dip in my pursuits, in my dreams, in my goals, I want to get through that dip as quickly as I can. And so you know what my trigger was? As soon as I started feeling really pessimistic about something I was trying to accomplish, I sped up. Because the tendency is to slow down. When I wanted to quit because the truck just wasn't landing anywhere appropriate, I kept telling myself, look, if I just quit, I wouldn't have to deal with this anymore. But what if someone had walked up to me and said, Bryce, if you're willing to go through 15 more crashes, you're going to experience the information or the lesson that you needed to all of a sudden take your driving career to a level that nobody else in the sport is matching. If they would have told me that back then, I would have said, how quickly can I get through the 15 crashes? Because I am known as the big air guy now. I'm known as the guy that jumps the truck the biggest. And so last year we actually set a record. I guess it's an unofficial record, but we set a record for the highest jump in Monster Jam competition. Pretty wild, huh? Look, that was 5 times, 6 times bigger than the one I crashed on. But I took all that information and lessons and all the crashes, and I got to the point where I was applying it, and I still do today. And so the tune-up that I want you to be wrestling with tonight is simply to fail faster. Fail faster. All of us, we are so obsessed with success that any success is throwing us off of that trail of actually being successful. Have you ever noticed that? And it seems like the people that are just making things work, they're not perfect and always getting results every time, are they? And I incorporated something I'm calling the 24-hour rule, and I stole it from a billionaire guy named Bill Walsh. Bill has a rule in his company. And he said every idea that comes into a board meeting, when we bring it up, if we all agree that that's a good idea, you've got 24 hours to act on that idea or we automatically kill it. I started incorporating that in my own life. I had this idea, how long can we sit on an idea? Huh? Oh, maybe I should change the way I study. Maybe I should call my mom. Whatever that idea might be, we sit on it so long. And you know what I did? I simply said, every time I came up with that idea and I wrote it down, I had 24 hours to act on it. And so someone came up to Bill Walsh and said, why are your companies so successful? He said, because when we incorporate that 24-hour rule, we get to the successes 10 times faster than our competitors. Because we've already learned 6 ways to fail at that thing by the time they finally decided to act on it. And that's why we smoke them. I want to encourage you, if you are in a situation in your life and you're struggling to figure out and feel like you're just not getting traction, maybe you're a little burnt out, you're trying to figure out how to make sense of all this. What if you just accelerated through your failures faster? Because every failure gets you that much closer to the success. Guys, this isn't rocket science. It's health science. No, this isn't rocket science. Typically, the ones that beat the other one are the ones that are willing to get through them without the loss of enthusiasm. All right? All right. What was G? What was E? What was A? R. R is risk. Risk. I'm a huge believer that the best motivation is found in the risk, not the reward. What does that mean? All right. I'm going to show you, this is probably arguably the hardest crash of my career. On the left, you'll kind of see it through some of the dust. As the truck lands at the very end, that is a concrete NASCAR racetrack. And in case you're wondering, you're not supposed to land on the track. All right, so there's a Bryce bump at the Atlanta Motor Speedway now that all the NASCAR drivers hate Bryce Kenny. Okay, the right side is of course an onboard shot of that hit. Okay, so I'm going to show it to you, and then it automatically goes with a little bit of a slow motion. Right there, no, I'm sorry, right here, the back of the truck is where it hits the concrete. I know I'm going to rotate all the way over onto the concrete pad. That was the hardest hit I've ever felt. Now, it's a testament to the safety equipment though, isn't it? Anybody want to go into like biomedical engineering or anything in here? I don't know. Anyway, we use a lot of biomedical engineers. And the way that our body moves and it shifts in that truck, I care about because it's my body that's going through the abuse. But when I hit that concrete, I've never felt something like that. My question to you, do you think that I subject myself to that for a trophy? Come on, it's really shiny. It's pretty big too. Like if you win the event, like they give you a pretty big trophy. Would you put yourself through that type of bodily trauma because of a trophy? I don't either. I don't. Now, don't get me wrong. The trophy's not bad. I've never given one back. My kids think they're awesome. In fact, my kids never ask me about risk or any of the points that I'm about to make to you right now. They only ask if I brought the trophy home. Okay? So I don't give the trophy back, but I have learned that the trophy itself is not enough to allow me to push the limits of myself and my machinery. This is why I do what I do. These are two fan reaction videos, the same backflip from opposite ends of the stadium. Now, don't mishear me. I don't do what I do and subject myself so some kid hopped up on cotton candy can have a good time, all right? But you know what I tell myself? I think about that kid. I think about those families up there. And I start to think about, before I go out and make a run, I think about what if this is the only night in that kid's life to become inspired? What if this is the only chance for that family to come out and make a real life memory together this year? And this needs to be something they talk about for months, for years to come. And some people look at me and they say, Bryce, you're putting too much pressure on yourself. Yeah, you're right. I do. Because I look at this opportunity and this life that I get to live, traveling across the world, and when I show up in a city, my 12,000-pound Monster Jam truck is ready to go. I just get in it, I tear it up, I get back on a plane, I fly home, they fix it all week long for the next city. I get to come back with my wife and kids and enjoy them. But why do I subject myself to all of that is because of the opportunity to make an impact. And I'm not special. I'm no more special than you are. My mom thinks I'm special, right? But I'm no more special than you are. And I know you've got dreams and things that you want to go and accomplish. And so the tune-up that I want you to wrestle with, and this to me is the secret. No one ever has to push me to work harder, to become better at the things that I do, to try to become a better speaker, to become a better driver. No one pushes me to do those things because of this right here. I want you to wrestle with this. I want you to learn how to date the trophy. I'm not saying forget about it. Rewards are great. Date the trophy. But I want you to marry the stakes. Marry the stakes. I have learned that it's not about what you get if you win. It's about what's at stake if you lose. When there's something for you to lose in your dream, man, Katie, bar the door. No one's going to have to push you either. You're not going to have to find some intrinsic motivation somewhere. I had a guy in college, and you know what he told me? I was always wondering, like, dude, why are you studying this much? And he told me, he said, look, I don't have a backup plan. He said, I've got to pour everything into this, or if I don't get this, I don't eat next year. Do you think that someone, we could have the best guidance counselor in the world. Do you think that person is what would have been needed for my friend to become motivated to go and do the very best he could in what he was accomplishing? No. Intrinsic motivation comes from understanding what happens if you lose. And if there's nothing that's going to change by losing, you really don't have a deep enough dream. And so as we close tonight, I want you to think about that. You're making huge decisions right now, aren't you? But don't worry, because they're not as big as you think they are. Don't get so overwhelmed like you're going to mess all this up. The tendency that we all have in the moments right now that all of you are in is you become so fearful of getting it wrong that you do nothing. I want you to wrestle with the fact of, if I don't accomplish this, if I don't win at this, what changes? I said this at the beginning of our talk, didn't I? Think about the ripple effects of this room. If all of you commit and decide to go into the health sciences field in some way, think about the hundreds of people that just come off of your family. Think about the thousands of patients and people that you're going to get to serve. Think about the millions of individuals that could come off of this room, off of your efforts and your commitment coming out of this week, your commitment to leave here and be your best. I said I've become obsessed with understanding what gets people stuck and helping them get unstuck. Your heart is the very secret to getting unstuck. The thing that drives you, the thing that if you fail, it almost makes you emotional at the thought that that thing doesn't happen. It almost makes you emotional that those millions of people don't get touched or served or helped. How many thousands of people would lose their lives because someone in this room chose to play it safe and didn't go into that to serve the industry, to serve other people? Your hearts, I already know, you guys in this room, you have such a unique perspective and ability, but you also have a very unique heart. And it is a heart of service. It's a heart of leadership. And it's also a heart to pour yourself into everything that you're going to do. Because I got a secret for you. That's what it's going to take. I remember walking across this campus, and I remember looking at people and thinking, I wonder if they're going to make it. You ever do that? That was my biggest question I was always asking myself and around me, I guess, at your age. I was always asking. And then I would study the people that did make it. I was like, what made that person make it? Have you ever asked that question? Have you ever wondered if you're going to make it? I believe if you're someone that is just too stubborn to quit, you'll make it. That's what I've learned. I'm 37 years old. I don't have all the answers. But I have learned this. It's never the person that's got all the answers that makes it. It's always the person that is just, they've got the courage to shift out of one gear and simply go to the next. They're too stubborn to quit. They just say, I don't know, I don't have all this stuff figured out in this stage of my life, but I do have the courage to boom, I'm going to find my next gear. They get to this one, and then they find the very next one. And they get one. And as many gears as it takes to go out there and accomplish that thing that's in their chest. And it will require that commitment. And so I want to challenge you. That's my last challenge tonight. You have such an amazing opportunity to draw a line this week. I don't know who you need to call. I don't know if it's a parent. I don't know if it's a brother or a sister. I don't know if it's a friend that you're going to meet this week. I want you to call them. I want you to say, Mom, I have made a decision this week. Yeah, I still don't know if I'm going to go into pharmacy. I still don't know if I'm going to go into public health or osteopathic medicine. Maybe you don't have that figured out. But you to draw that line and say, I will never give up on this dream I have to go and serve people and to heal people. When you make that decision, you step over that line and you know no one can push you back on the other side, I promise you, you'll win. So I hope your week is amazing. And I hope that this is something that not only just allows you the hope and the belief, but I hope that you'll just simply have that courage this week to shift in and find that next gear. Okay? Thank you guys. I hope your week's amazing. I appreciate you guys listening.
Thank you, Bryce. Everybody give Bryce one more hand.
He knows how to talk publicly. He's very down to earth. His tips are tips that you can incorporate in your life right now.
What I'll remember is when he talked about taking risks and not relying on your fallback situation.
He shined a lot of light, and I took a lot from his message, and I'll keep it.